Welcome to the Scully Sez podcast, talking all things law, business, and more. Now here's your host, Tom Scully.
Anyway, are you supposed to let everybody know that we want people to give us a thumbs up because this is Scully Sez podcast, and it's got Mr. Scully there, of course, and we have Mr. Patrick. We won't give him his last name because nobody's going to be able to pronounce it or spell it anyway, so we don't care about that. It's like that Panic character, you know. It's a very ethnic type name, and so we steer clear of that. You know, we try to have like a very pronounceable name like Scully. You can do that, you see.
Smith or Scully.
Smith, there you go. Yes. It's all American, you see. We don't want any of these. God knows that we're talking about. We're going to talk about the New York election, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And there are some of these names are less than they're certainly not Scully or Kelly, are they?
No, they're not. Well, I mean, even the American guy's name is like, geez, how do you pronounce that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Sliwa.
No, Cuomo. You know?
Yes, well, yes, but of course, people have had a lot of practice with his father before him.
Right.
Yes,
Who,
but
by all accounts, is a pretty celebrated political individual.
Oh yes, Andrew Cuomo. Yeah, they thought that at one time he might have been a very good prospect as a president. I would have voted for him myself.
Well, Richard, right? Richard was his father. Was that what his name was?
No, Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew?
Yes, Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah, and so anyway, but he was very well spoken, and he was very well. He was just dignified, very, very dignified. And so anyway, but again, aren't we supposed to be saying that this is Scully's podcast, and what else are we supposed to be saying?
We got to say, welcome to the Scully Sez podcast. Please like, subscribe, share, follow. Anything positive that you like, anything negative, we'll take that too, but not going to respond. Make sure that you send it to your best friend and your worst enemy. We would like to get all opinions.
And you know what we say about those people that give us a negative comment? You know what we say about those?
What's that?
Hater. Just try. Yeah, that's what we say. Yeah. So anyway, again trying to keep away from anything controversial. You know that. So other than anything besides what we've already done, we're going to talk about the New York elections. You've heard about that, have you, sir? The New York elections?
Yeah, I have, actually. Sorry, I was adjusting my mic. Yeah, I have. I did a little bit of I wouldn't say a deep dive, but I definitely looked into it, and obviously I hear a lot about it because most of my friends are actually from New York City, or at least most of the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, so they've got plenty to say about it for sure. But I was talking to you beforehand, and it looks like it's a 3-horse race, which is really a 2-horse race, which is really probably going to end up being a 1-horse race. It doesn't seem like Cuomo has too much traction or really too much of an opportunity to gain what he's lost, you know.
Yeah, I think we talked about a little bit about the Slua character. I mean, his chances are 0 and then none.
No, next to nothing would not begin to describe it.
and so basically what he's going to do, he's just going to be siphoning votes off Cuomo. And of course, Cuomo is a sad second, but he's at least a second, whereas otherwise we get stuck with that other guy. And you can't really call him a pinko. Pinko, he would have been pinko a long time ago. He's a little bit darker than a pinko. I would say that he's getting towards a ruby red. What do you think?
Some would say maybe even scarlet.
Yes, well, yes, the scarlet letter. That's right. The big scarlet letter on his forehead is M. Anyway, M is for Mondami, and so there's a question as to if and when Mondami gets elected, which it looks like more and more that's what's going to happen. There's talk about the people with the money are going to be fleeing the jurisdiction because, of course, he's going to try to increase taxes. Do you think that's foreseeable?
I think so. I mean, you're talking about a city where, the common joke is that no one who's actually in New York is from New York. That's the common joke. Everyone in Jersey, North Jersey, Central Jersey, even some South Jersey is usually the biggest group of born New Yorkers, born within the city limits. So I think that a lot of the people who are there, because the cost of living is so high, are going to be people who are affected by these policies. I mean, you have an entire park right in the center of the city, which is pretty aptly named, I would say. But it all along that park up until you get down towards Harlem is $100 million apartments, $200 million for a flat, all this. It's crazy. The prices are exorbitant, to say the least. And now, a lot of these people will probably be relatively unaffected because I would imagine someone who owns a home in Billionaires Row, their primary residence is in Montana or in Florida, or, they probably have done those creative things. But if you own a business, if you're a, high-end jeweler, if you're which there's a lot of in New York, if you're a car dealer, if you're anyone who's clinging to living in New York while still earning that money in New York, you really have to take a second for yourself and say, is this guy going to be for me as a wealthy New Yorker, or is this guy going to be for the people who are kind of, by the public opinion, destroying the city? Is he going to be for them instead, and it doesn't seem like he cares too much about the average person making good, really, not even really good money. I mean, really good money anywhere else in the world is good money in Manhattan, and those are the people who are going to be affected.
Well, that how many they have a lot of millionaires in New York, but how many millionaires you have is you have 1 in 100 millionaires, 1 in every 200 is a millionaire. So whatever, there are a lot more no millionaires or unmillionaires than there are millionaires. And so you have the millionaire, the one guy that's got the business, say, and let's say he employs 100 people. That guy, he has 1 vote. Now the people that work for him, they have 100 votes. Yeah?
Exactly.
So even though they contribute, they contribute very little as far as the finances to the city. This guy, the guy that is the boss, he is paying their salary. Yeah, he's paying taxes into the city, and so if he leaves, what's going to happen is the tax base is going to be reduced, and then once it's reduced, the only way you can make that up is to increase the tax base.
Right, and and for me the thing is, two things. One, I'm not trying to say if you're a millionaire, you need to, the government needs to be worried about you, blah, blah, whatever, the world should revolve. No, absolutely not. It's just that the reality is those people contribute the most to taxes, no matter what, in any system that we use taxes for. And that tax money leaving means that there's going to be higher taxes on the average citizens. I mean, having more millionaires in New York, it may seem backwards, but it is better for the average person because they contribute to the tax base. Now, that's not talking about, the ultra wealthy who, again, are paying taxes in Montana or paying taxes in Florida or paying taxes in Ohio or whatever it is, which I don't know why you choose Ohio. But if you're paying taxes in one of these places that's kind of a little bit of a tax haven or just significantly less, yeah, I could see the argument where it's I don't want this person to be there. But the New Yorker who wears it on their chest, who believes that this is the best place in the world, and that's why they made it here, and they can make it anywhere, blah blah, all that. That person leaving is a bad thing for you, regardless of if you feel like now that they're a millionaire, they aren't a real New Yorker, or they don't, they're not as important as the majority. That may be true, but their tax dollars are very important, and that's how you fund social services. It's how you fund public transit. That's how you fund even, stupid stuff like building Yankee Stadium, right? That's how you fund those type of things, is from these, uber wealthy people. And I was going to say, we saw this, now it's got to be 8 to 10 years ago with AOC, when she scared Amazon out of Brooklyn or whatever it was.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, she scared Amazon out of Brooklyn, but I remember they were building the facilities. I have a friend who builds the facilities in that area, or who designs them rather, and they were building a facility 10 miles further down Long Island immediately. Like, it wasn't even a thought. They were like, whatever, no big deal. All right, you don't want to be in Brooklyn? Fine. And that's bad for your local economy. I live in a place that's being co-opted by these data centers and these little AI things, and a warehouse pops up here, a warehouse pops up here, all this. I live in an area that's being totally demented from development. It sucks. But we're talking about Brooklyn. More jobs in Brooklyn is not a bad thing. I don't care who it comes from. It was a good thing. And I think that the public outcry from a large part of the people who lived in Brooklyn, regardless of their color, creed, whatever, was, listen, now we appreciate the liberal policies. We appreciate that you're trying to help the small man, but you're not doing that by taking away, 1,200 jobs or whatever it was,
Yeah, out here in the great Midwest, we have a big Amazon plant facility. And, of course, nobody really complained about it because there are a lot of people that are working there and making, they work pretty hard, but they make a lot of money. They make very good money,
Yeah.
Bezos is kind of, he's known for paying a halfway decent wage. So, and that's important. And it helps the economy, and it helps the tax base for sure.
Well, and one thing, I know people will hear that and they'll say, people who have had an Amazon job or whatever will be like, okay, yeah, he pays a good wage, whatever, but the job sucks, or it's not a good enough wage, whatever. It's fine. Everyone can agree, disagree on that. That's great. UPS is the same thing. FedEx is the same thing. DHL is the same thing. A big Kroger warehouse, it's the same thing. It exists all across. Just because you affix the Amazon tag to it doesn't make it inherently more dystopian of a career. It exists in, there's mom and pop versions of what Amazon does all over the country. I used to work a job like that where it's just warehouse work. We did not make enough for what we were doing, but we did make more than if we sat at a counter at a gas station or a grocery store, and that's the way that worked. And again, I'm not trying to act like someone who doesn't make a lot isn't as valuable, but the amount someone coming in and trying to stick it to Bezos, it screwed however many people out of having stable income, or at least a job that can work between a job, or a kid's first job, or someone who's maybe I even know people like this, people who are super conservative fitness who then go get a job at UPS because it's yeah, I could go work at a gas station, I could go do this, I could do that, but I'm working out essentially while I'm working. And I'm not selling the Amazon job to anyone. Trust me, it sucks. It's dystopian, whatever. But it does need to exist, and it does exist, and it's not just because it's Amazon. So she was completely wrong for taking that away, and we've seen that these policies backfire in New York all the time. I don't know how New Yorkers are going to react, but it seems like they want Mamdani, they want more progression, but I just don't. Nothing I hear ever says that from them.
Well, I think though that the people that are voting for him are the workers, but not the producers. And so the people that are voting for him are the people that are getting money from the producers. And in order to get money from the producers, it allows them to do whatever they're doing. But once the producer goes away, now you got a problem, as far as I can see. Are you following that line of thinking?
Yeah.
So that's just...
Well, you want to see a case in point on that, right? Let's go to Detroit. Detroit used to be where those cars were also made, and some of them still have plants. There's a plant south of Detroit there's a Toledo plant for Chrysler Jeep Dodge. There's another one a little bit farther north. There's a Ford stamping plant, Ford engine plant. And then there's the Rotunda plant, which is the Dearborn where all them made, whatever. All those plants are in that area. There's some operational, but there used to be almost 10 times more,
yes.
Yeah. And when that vacancy happened, you got Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
These companies never came back. They never left their headquarters. They loved that they were in Detroit. They loved whatever. But it didn't matter to them. They just moved it to Kansas City. The trucks are made in Kansas City now. Now the cars are made in Indiana. Now Tennessee, Texas, Mexico, all of these places. This is where these cars are being made. And it's because, this constant worrying for the little guy knocks out the big guy who provides for thousands of the little guys, you know? And that's what happened in Detroit. I mean, people seem to think that Detroit was some, something like ethereal happened. Like, no, jobs left, people had nothing to do, crime went up, city got worse, and now you have Detroit. Like, that's what happened. That is the same thing happens in Gary, same thing, you know, in my area here in Dayton. Dayton was Funky Town. The song, like, Want to Go to Funky Town? That's talking about Dayton. Dayton actually had a somewhat national presence at a point in time. Take away the big plant in the center that produced Chevy S10s and the post office vans.
Yeah.
What do you got? What do you got? A bunch of people with no jobs, no careers, no nothing. They didn't have to get an education, so they don't have a traditional education. So even though they have immense value to society, that doesn't matter anymore, and they're completely left on their own. And I'm beating a dead horse because you know what I'm talking about, but it's just people are completely ignorant of that. And New York is insulated from it because there's so much money there. There's so much new blood. There's immigration. There's, like everything trendy happening there, whatever. But you forget that, like, a large portion of those people have to go to a normal job. They have to go be longshoremen. They have to go be factory workers. They have to go be warehouse workers. You know what I mean? Like, the majority of those people have to go do that. So
Yes.
you take it away, and what do your city will collapse. It will.
Sure. Well, you mentioned Gary, and at one time with the mills in Gary, you didn't even have to speak English. They had different gangs, and all you had to do was you showed up at the front door and you said, "I want a job," and they just yanked you in there because they needed as many people as they could get.
Right.
And of course, with time things changed, and fewer people were needed at the mill. And now it's probably down to about 10% of what it used to be. And as a result, Gary has become one of the poorest cities in the country.
Right. And it didn't hurt Mr. I own the steel mill. It didn't hurt Mr. I own the car company. It hurt the community of Gary. It hurt the individuals who don't have the job, or even people who were not affected by the job, but then you get tangentially screwed by it, That's who it hurt. And that's why you have to strike that balance where you make it possible for business to be conducted, but you also care about the people in the constituents, right? Like, you should care about the poorest person in Brooklyn, but you should also understand that the poorest person in Brooklyn can't provide for the other poor people in Brooklyn. And so if you completely design your system around it, who's going to provide for them? It's not going to be the U.S. government. It's not going to be, so.
Well, now you did have a chance to take a look at the debate the other night.
Yeah, I looked at some of the more common things. My favorite thing were some of the back and forths were funny. They were going at each other a little bit. But yeah, I did. I looked over.
There were a number of things I really didn't understand too much. Slua seemed to be going after Cuomo.
Yeah.
Which made absolutely no sense whatsoever, because Cuomo's chances of winning are very, very slight. So you got a guy that's basically got very little chance of winning. So you try to diminish his chances, whereas the guy that's the overwhelming favorite, he's pretty much left unscathed. And the thing with the thing with Mandami, they said all he had to do was nothing. That was his job, to do nothing, say nothing, kind of smile at the camera, and just not make any terrible mistakes, not terrible blunders. And even if he made a number of blunders, that probably wouldn't be enough. But so, looking back at the debate, did you what was your take on it?
I think I don't know if we talked about it in another debate a while ago, but I feel like we did talk about a debate like 10 episodes ago or something like that. But it's the same thing I felt then. I think it's funny where the political discourse has gotten to. I mean, there is a lot of personal jabs. There's a lot of, more like the way that people would argue as opposed to the way politicians used to argue. There's a lot of that going on, which is kind of interesting. The thing that I found the same thing very interesting, that you have the two guys who have pretty much no chance going at each other. It's like, people say, never get in an argument with an idiot. They'll bring you down to their level and beat you with experience, right? Or don't go play with a pig in mud because you'll both be covered in mud, and no one will tell the difference. It's like they did that and made Mamdani look like the kind of like adult a little bit, Yes, and it's like that's a bad look, because your whole thing is as independent, leftist, but with like Como, kind of like conservative, but also a left-leaning guy. And then you have the conservative, and neither of them are acting conservative. You got the guy who's the furthest departure from like what someone would assume the mayor of New York would be. And he's like the guy who seems to kind of have his stuff together. You know what I mean? I thought that was interesting. I did think it was interesting too. They had a hard time getting Mamdani several times to say anything like about the Palestinian side, like Hamas, that side of the conflict,
Yes.
Which I think, again, like, I definitely have some opinions on the conflict, but the bottom line is both sides are not behaving the way that not conducting the way that we conduct in today's world, right? Like, just period. That's just the problem. And so getting him not being able to say, Hamas is, they need to stop too, was a problem. But he did say that at the debate, which was good, but it did take some coaxing, which is like, why? It's the same way I felt about how he felt when they're going around and they're asking all the mayoral candidates what their plans are. And they're like, oh, the first thing I'm going to do is go to Israel once I get elected. And he's like, I'm worried about New York, man. Like, and that makes him super relatable and super great. But I felt the same way about him not being able to say, just condemn, Hamas's actions. It should be one of those things. Like, I don't know why they're asking you for the mayor of New York, but now that they are, just take the softball. There's no need for the blunder. You know what I mean? Like, you're a politician. I don't believe a word you're saying. So the least you could do is say the nice things. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing I found funny with Mamdani is he had no specifics whatsoever. So he said that he's going to provide low-cost food. And he's going to have these food places that are going to be very, very cheap. How he's going to arrange that, that's kind of left up in the air. I do know some people that work in the food industry, and they said that the profit margin is usually 1 or 2%. So how he's going to cut into that substantially and provide food for the poor people at a very reasonable cost is anybody's guess. I suppose maybe he's going to have to subsidize it. But then again, he talks about also low-cost housing. You need low-cost housing, and he's going to provide this low-cost housing. Where that money is going to come from, how he's going to finance it, we don't know that either. And so he talks about that. And then he talks about he's going to freeze the rents. So how the landlords are going to get through? Are the landlords going to default on their mortgages? Are they going to get out of town? Are they going to try to sell the place at a loss? We don't know, because he doesn't say anything about that either. He talked about making the city safe. He's going to make it safe, you see. He's no longer going to try to defund the police.
Right.
He's not going to do that. Not going to do that anymore. And not only that, but in addition to that, Cuomo says he's going to. I think he's going to add 5,000 police. That was at least a specific, of course. But Mamdani, he doesn't say whether he's going to do anything about, increasing the size of the police force, decreasing it, or whatever. And so the question is, so we have him talking about rent, we have him talking about food, we have him talking about safety, we have him talking about the police. And these are all kind of general ideas. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, but the question is, how are you going to do it? And that was left unsaid.
Well, and like two of those that I would attack, like you need to have a solution for this. Is the first thing is the rent thing, right? So if you stay rent payments, all right, noble, I get it. You want people to have a place to live, all right. I see what you're saying. Who freezes the mortgage payments though? Then, right? Because all it's going to take is one of these guys who has a couple holdings to start to really feel it before then you have to go and take that to the Supreme Court of New York, for sure. Like 100% that has to be arbitrated in court, because why would I, if the government just told my tenant that he doesn't have to pay me, why do I have to keep paying my mortgage, right? And so that's going to for sure be something that I think we'll see in court. We'll see a battle over that if he gets through to that. The other thing, the cost of food. Yeah, I work in the food industry, different food industry. Obviously, I'm service, but I know the people you were talking to are not. They're in the same industry, in the grocery industry and stuff. But for me, yeah, I mean, cost of food has gone up astronomical. I have the luxury because I have a lot of baked in margins into my, and that was a pun, but I have a lot of baked in margins. So I chose to, as the cost of goods has gone up, just cut my margins a little bit, make a little bit less money, and just try and volume it out. It's worked for me. It's been fine for me, but it's not an accident, and it doesn't happen because, someone mandated it to me. It happened because like me and the other guy who runs the shop with me are willing to like have like a, objectively pretty miserable work-life balance. You know what I mean? Like, that's why it happens. And that costs money. I have to pay him money, and I have to pay myself money to make that happen. I can say I'm not taking money, but my bills come the same time, and I still have to pay them. So I have no idea what his plan is there, but money is the lifeblood of the food industry, and saying that you're going to stop someone from making profits off it, then what are you going to do? You're going to go trace it back to the farms? How many farms are in New York that you have, in New York City, that you have jurisdiction over? None. So what are you going to do? Absolutely nothing. You're just going to screw the business owner. And it's like fine when it's Kroger. It's fine when it's Walt's or something. It's fine when it's Walmart. I don't really care that much. It doesn't bother me as much. But it does matter when it's a small mom and pop grocery store, or it's a small Mexican grocery store, or it's a Chinese all of these places where they have these specialty goods trying to cut into them. You put a grocery store in their neighborhood that stops their basic stuff, their toilet papers, their flowers, their whatever, and you stop the person who shops at the Mexican grocery store in their corner, and now they're going over there for most of their little goods, and they'll come and get specialty items from only the Mexican store because it costs more. You've just put them out of business. Straight up. You just put them out of business. That's what happened there. It's just not a good look. It takes away culture from the city. And again, it's not all about money. It's not about like, oh, you have to be spending money. If there was a way, if there was an untapped source of tax income that was possible to get at without removing that source, which is like, yeah, you could tax the rich people higher, but they'll just leave. So it's like, I don't know what you're gonna do. It's a total lock thing, and I can't even get started with him on the NYPD. My friends who are on the NYPD are like already have no idea what his possible plan could be. And I mean, these guys are in the NYPD, not grunts, by the way, like detectives and above. These guys are, and they have no clue. There's been nothing's been told to them of any thought process of how it will look under Mamdani, anything. They're all holding their breath. So if they don't know, we don't.
Well, of course, then you got crime. What do you think about the crime? The crime seems to be increasing in New York. Do you follow that?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I've always been weird with New York's crime. Chicago's crime I have a bit of an understanding of from like living there and just doing a lot of research on it because I care a lot about Chicago, With New York, I feel like it's always, up until maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe 4 years, but it always felt really safe. It felt, subway was fine. It was grimy, there's people who like live on the streets, of course, and so there's going to be a certain level of uncomfortability, but it's not bad. It doesn't feel super, super dangerous or anything, I don't know that that's the case anymore, though, because since COVID, the police have been feeling very much like no one likes the NYPD. No one wants our help. No one can. And so that you've gotten a lot less of, people, they're not pulling over guys driving crazy on the highway as much. They're not really getting little drug dealers. They're not really dealing with fights and stuff, and I don't think it's a good reaction from the police force, but it is the reaction from the police force. They feel very, very dejected. And if you're not going to have a mayor who has the back of the police force, then you're not going to solve your crime problem. And if you're going to tell the president, no, we don't want your National Guard, which again, I said on that episode, I get why you wouldn't want them, no problem. But if you're going to say that you don't want them, which all three of them said they didn't want them, there has to be some actionable plan here that backs the NYPD. I know Cuomo said he wants to add more officers and stuff, but Mamdani's thing, I think, was something like adding like social or like health, mental health workers or something like that. And it's like, again, not a bad idea. Probably a good idea to have some people in the NYPD who are more like social workers and their job is to solve solutions, for sure. That doesn't stop the physical crime issue, though, right? Like, that doesn't, people aren't going to be like, oh, there's the guy I can talk to about my mental health and about placing me in this and doing that. That doesn't stop him from doing crime. The thing that stops him from doing crime is uniforms on the street. Like, that's what has been the solution to crime in New York for 150 years. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, I think they have either done away with or they're going to do away with Rikers Island. You've heard that, have you? Mm-hmm. Well, Rikers Island has something like 30 or 40% of the inmates. So you do away with that. You can't put people away right now because there's not enough room for them. So you reduce it by a significant amount. You're going to have even more people that should be incarcerated on the street. And I mean,
what are you going to do? Send them all to county? Send them all upstate? You know what I mean? Start busting them to Ohio jails?
Yeah, no, that's right. And of course, that would only be, I think you could only do that with the federal cases.
Right. Well, and just, again, this is where this stuff that I feel like is just so thoughtless. There's a unspoken thing about prisons. There's a gang. There's a cliquiness. But they have gangs, right?
Yeah.
And so you take a guy from the New York system where they have their established gangs in New York City and you throw them upstate. I'm sure that hierarchy is not the same. And I will tell you, going to a Philly jail, oh my God, it's a target on your back just from being from New York City. It's a target on your, you know what I mean? You're not helping the criminals either. You're not helping rehabilitation if they're getting their ass beat or they're getting killed. You know what I mean? It doesn't work. So I don't know what the plan. I mean, it's the same thing that they do though. It's all right. The left side of things always likes to say, you know, oh, well, I'm going to do this for black people or this for Latin people or this for whatever. But then, like, when you're, like, feet to the fire, it's like, why? It's because they genuinely believe, like, there's, like, hubris. They believe it's, like, incapable. Like black people are incapable of integrating in society without their help. It's, like, this pure, like, arrogance, you know? And it's, like, I still remember when Trump the first time was being elected when they were saying voter ID. Oh my God! If you take away voter ID, black people aren't going to be able to vote. And then people went around and did man on the street interviews in primarily black neighborhoods, and they were like, "Hey, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing that you guys don't have IDs," and the black people are like, "What are you talking about? Like, of course we have IDs. Like, what is this? You know?" And it's just this arrogance that, like, oh, we'll do it for you, little guy, you know, whatever, because you have this vocal minority that needs everything done for them.
Well, now this brings us to the point where it's assuming that Mamdani gets elected, and assuming he has all these projects going, and assuming that, of course, there's not enough money to fund them, and he's going to, one would think that he's going to be going with hat in hand to a guy by the name of Trump. What do you think? What do you think Mr. Trump is going to do for Mr. Mamdani?
I mean, the writing is on the wall that he's going to have to go talk to the guy, and his whole platform is like, we need a mayor who will stand up to Trump. Well, you're going to have to kneel down to Trump in a couple minutes here if you don't relax, because you're spending money you don't got, you know, like. And I think Trump will tell him pretty frankly, like, listen, man, I made it in New York. You know what I mean? If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, man. You know, figure it out.
Well, I think also, if I'm not mistaken, though, I think not only is he going to be asking Trump for money, but I believe that Trump has already said he's going to take some of this funding away.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, on some of these projects that Trump is not in favor of, I think he says he's not going to fund them. So that's going to be, in addition to the costs going up, in addition to a diminished tax base, you've got less money coming in from the federal government. It just seems to me that New York is going to be facing some very substantial problems in the future.
The only possible thing I can think of, because I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the lady who's the governor there, Kathy.
Hochul.
Governor Hochul.
Hochul.
Yeah. She's the governor in New York now, and she endorsed Mamdani. Mamdani did not endorse her back, though. He said he'll wait until after November, and then that'll be something they deal with after the elections. That seemed weird to me. My thought is maybe they have someone else in the machine has someone else that they'd like to be there as the governor. So I don't know if that's going to play into any of this at all. If they're going to try and get another governor that maybe like helps New York City a little bit more. I don't know what it is, but I thought that was weird when I was watching him not endorse her. I felt like that was why wouldn't you, right?
Well, my thought there is that he's not yet been elected, and of course, you remember when Hillary was going to be the shoo-in as far as being president of the United States, and I was absolutely sure that she was going to be president. And I wake up the next morning and say Trump won the election. So that may be in the back of Mamdani's head. But so once he gets elected after November, then if he endorses her and people don't like it, what are they going to do about it? Whereas, he might lose some votes right now before the election if he endorses her and people are against Hochul. Of course, she's evidently not that popular of a governor anyway. But once he's in there, he's in there for 4 years. And right in the beginning of his term, he'll have no trouble endorsing her.
That makes sense then. Because my thought was maybe they have some other governor they're trying to do. I mean, if you were a resident of New York and Mamdani, who seems like he's going to be your mayor, is going to be your mayor, the best hope you have that funding and stuff doesn't get cut is that you got a red mayor in there or a red governor in there. You know, that would be the best thing you could hope for, is then let him, he's dealing with the state as a whole, but when it comes to New York City, at least, he wants his city to look good because it's a reflection on his governorship. And, then you might be able to have someone who can make a bridge to Trump. But it's just weird to me because I think that, like even a guy like Bernie Sanders, right, who definitely there's no love lost for him with Trump. There's definitely no love lost there. But I think that that's a guy who knows how to go and have a conversation with him, though. That's a guy who isn't really necessarily, aside from like during the election, was stirring up too much that made me feel kind of you're not playing the political game right. But it very much feels like Mamdani's not playing that part of the political game right. I mean, you got a president from the city that you're about to be the mayor of. You don't have to like him. You can even publicly disagree with him on a lot of stuff, but you shouldn't be slinging shit, right? Like, especially not with a guy who slings shit with the best of them.
Better to sling mud than sling shit. I've always said that, sir. I've had mud on my face before, and I've been able to put up with it. But I refuse to entertain a shit-eating grin. I just won't do it. I won't do it. No. I won't grin it. I won't eat it. I won't do it.
Mamdani's gonna have to grin and bear.
Yes, well, he's going to do it, but there's some of the stuff that he's handing out I'm not going to swallow, you see what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny, so you brought this topic earlier in the week, and I just finished a show called The Wire, which is about Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fantastic show.
It is.
Really, really fantastic. But so one of the main characters in it, at least in the final 3 seasons, or final 2 seasons, I think, is, I think his name's Carpetti. Or Carcetti, but anyways, it's the mayor. His name's Tommy, and he's played by a guy who's the same actor for Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, which is like a very political, like sneaky little guy. So it's great cast. So anyways, he has to beat a black incumbent mayor to become the mayor of Baltimore. He's a Democratic mayor, and the whole idea is that once he becomes the mayor, he'll be able to move up to being the governor, and then the Democrats will hold the state, and blah blah blah, whatever. So. One of the things they told him, they were like, well, the job of a mayor who was disgraced, basically, who like was giving him advice, told him, he was like, well, the mayor is eating bowls of shit all day. Mm-hmm. He's like, you get to, you just get handed a bowl of shit and you eat. And when you're done, you say, am I done now? And another bowl is placed in its place. And, he talks about, like, he has all these idealized thoughts for what he's going to do for Baltimore. He's going to, education increase, police force increase, all the blah, 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 whatever. And then it's like all these money games, political games, all this stuff, right? And it just makes me think like that when I was watching Mumbani talk, he's like the guy from The Wire. He's like Tommy Carcetti, because he's like saying like all of this stuff, like I'm not about the talk, I'm about actually doing stuff, and I'm about this and I'm about that. And it's like, yeah, but you're gonna get in, and like 35 seconds after you get in as the mayor, your aide's gonna whisper in your ear like, okay, and so now only like 2 more years until the governor will run, and then like, you know what I mean? And that's how it goes. Like, it's the same thing as the presidency. Your first term is campaigning to get in. You put a couple big things out, and then you start campaigning to stay in. You know, that's what it is. It's just a popularity, you know, generating popularity or generating headlines, whatever. And I don't think this Mamdani guy has, like you said, I don't think he has any plan to really build anything. You know, I don't think he wants to actually to make New York a better place. I think that he wants to talk about what would make New York a better place. But he's at the position now where he could start having these meetings to figure out what that actually is, and he isn't, you know?
No, like I say, he talks in platitudes. But you mentioned something that was interesting. You brought The Wire, which was completely off topic, but I forgive you for that. But so going further off topic, you see, you saw the mayor's name was Tommy. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Tommy. Well, you know, there was a Tommy D'Alessandro that used to be the mayor of Baltimore. You knew that, did you, sir?
Okay,
and you know,
no, I didn't know.
Oh, well, Tommy D'Alessandro, he had a daughter. I don't know if you ever heard of his daughter. Her name was Mrs. Pelosi.
Oh, yeah, okay,
yeah. So that was Tommy. They have little talks about little Tommy. He was quite successful in some ways as mayor of Baltimore, but he had a son. He had a son that also became mayor of Baltimore. But I believe that the son was smarter than the old man, because the son was there one term, and he said he was very easily to get reelected. No, I've had enough of this crap, and he bolted the scene, you see, and he went on to do it to make an honest living, whatever he did. But he was no longer on the scene. He split the scene and he left it clean. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Smart man.
Oh yeah, I think so. Well, he had some kind of scruples.
He probably listened to some of his sister's fine stock trading advice.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. So, but she's quite astute. You know, she's smarter than Mr. Buffett.
No, I mean, way greater than Buffett.
Buffett doesn't hold a candle to it.
The political stuff's a side hustle. She's really the best trader of all time.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right, now let's see what we got here. Now we figured out how we're going. But now we talked about platitudes, don't you see, sir? And we talked about that this guy Mandami, he's talking in generalized terms, and he has no solution, no concrete solutions. You follow so far?
Yeah.
So what I want from you, sir, right now, is a whole bunch of concrete solutions as to how to fix up New York. Right now, I don't want you just talking in generalities. I mean, that won't work. I want you to get something so that we can send it to Mr. Mandami, and Mr. Mandami will say, oh, yes, I can do A, B, C, and D, and I'll give Patrick complete, I'll give him credit for all these great thoughts he said. So now, I don't want to put you on the spot, because that wouldn't be fair, but can you give us a couple just suggestions maybe that maybe Mr. Mandami.
First thing, name change it, Little Chicago. You're already 60% better right there, paying homage to the true American city.
That's true.
That aside, I mean, truthfully, if I had to go down this thought experiment, I think from what I know, I've talked to a lot of people in the NYPD, and by a lot I mean, you know, whatever, the 5 or 6, but that's more than average, especially for an Ohio boy. I've talked to the people in the NYPD that I've talked to, and I think that you know, the funding isn't as big of an issue, but they definitely have a little bit of a funding issue. I think that it's a culture shift issue would be the biggest thing. I think that having a chief of police that is like out doing public outreach things, that's a lot more of a a lot more of a member of his of their community rather than just a guy who is some whatever police chief. I think that would do a lot for you. I think having people in your districts kind of I agree with Mandami a little bit. You want some people who have that mental health training, who can deal with the people who maybe just need a little bit of help, maybe need even straight up a conversation and not police work. That's fine. That's great. But you have to open up the avenues to real police work to get done. You can't have these identity politics. You can't have, you're arresting a little bit too much of this demographic. That can't happen. That type of stuff can't happen. You can't allow the media, especially New York media, that like the mayoral office could have an impact on. You can't have that media talking about how the cops are killers and how the cops hate the people who live in their districts and how the cops are racist. You can't have that stuff. So you just full stop. It would have to be a complete turn on how we see the NYPD, and it would start with the mayor's office. It would start by talking to your constituents about how the police is working on becoming better, and these are real people and these are real important members of your community. That'd be the first thing I'd do. The second thing that I would do is I would stop making it a luxury place. I think that's one of the things that's killing New York big time. I think that there's a difference between making tax policies that keep rich people out and keeping middle class or average wealth people from ever visiting it. Because just like Chicago, just like LA, just like whatever, the people from the surrounding area really make up a New Yorker more so than a person from New York. Because a person from New York is probably seldom leaving because it has everything you need. It's the people who travel there that really go and tell their friends at school, oh, New York was so cool and whatever. It costing $27 or whatever it does to get over the Verrazano is a problem. That's not a way to be making. That's highway robbery. Literally, it's a guy hiding under this giant bridge and he pops out and he steals $23 from me every time I go across it. That's crazy. You need to get tolls under control. You need to get your tax rate under control, and you need to probably do that by cutting some of the more exorbitant social services. And there probably is going to have to be some dealing with corporate, if there's a corporate tax break, not if there corporate tax breaks, and you want Wall Street to be paying its fair share. All that type of stuff matters. But I simply put, I would change completely the way that people view the NYPD, and I'm not like, it's not an impossible thing to do just by having them there, having the NYPD there at your press conferences, having them be a part of your regime, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? Like really, really try and build that. It doesn't matter if you're left or you're right leaning or anything. You call the police when you're in trouble, and that's what they're there for. That needs to be the thought process in New York. I think that would be the biggest change. But knocking down the bridge tolls a couple of fucking bucks probably wouldn't hurt you either.
Well, Eric Adams. I don't know if you knew this, but he used to be a policeman. You knew that, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know how good his liaison was the police department, but anyway, he was that. And now you also mentioned about Chicago. Now and that New York would be better off naming itself after Chicago. You're not suggesting, though, are you, that we follow the footsteps of that illustrious Mayor Brandon Johnson?
No, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that anything that a Chicago mayor in the past 40 years has done, you should just straight up never do. I think that the reason Chicago's so great is because it's so great, even with this political handicapping going on constantly. No, definitely nothing about the power structure of the Chicago politics. It should ever be replicated anywhere else, ever. It is the worst for that. It's just also fantastic, but, it's... No.
Well,
no.
I was always a great Daily supporter, particularly the Old Man Daily, and he had a great book out called Clout. And in spite of some of the shortcomings, Chicago probably did better at that point. They probably built more buildings, did more things. It just until recently with this new guy that came in, it seems to have stalled a bit, but. Chicago's always been a great city, to my mind, you see. But then again, I'm coming out of the great Midwest. And so we have that. And let me see if there's anything else that we...
Well, I was going to say, too, so, first off, that's why they call it the Windy City, is because the hot wind coming from the politicians' mouths.
Oh,
it is also windy.
It is
also windy. But it's not
Lake
about the
Michigan.
climate. That
Lake Michigan, sir, yes.
Oh, yeah. But I will say, I think that like if you're a New Yorker, go out and vote. Obviously, that's a important thing for anyone to do in any city, especially if you care. Even if you don't care, go vote for someone that you do care about. But I think that it's important that you go vote, and I think that if Mamdani gets in, it's important that even if you disagree with him, you do try and give him a chance to do his best, and when he makes his mistakes, you make that known, and when he does well, make that known too, because it's not completely doom and gloom. The guy could get in and be a fine mayor. He could really actually give a shit, and that's awesome. But in Chicago, when I lived there, we had a person who looked like they were a Chicagoan and talked like a Chicagoan and sounded pretty put together and had a really, really pretty solid plan on paper for what they were going to do to Chicago. And then she did her best Beetlejuice impressions for the next years as the mayor. So I don't know. I can't say that it's going to be good, but I can say that, if you like they did with Lightfoot, you give her a chance to shoot herself in the foot and shoot she will,
Yeah. Well, I know. And having said all this bad stuff and blah, 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 I do agree that we do want to try to support whoever gets in as mayor. We don't want to have we don't want to root for somebody to lose. We would like to have root for somebody to win, even if he wins doing things that we don't really support. We still want the city to be better off, not worse off. And so anyway, we live, the Chinese curse, do you, sir?
What's that?
May you live in interesting times. So, and we are living in interesting times. And
Absolutely.
Yes, we're having a lot of dissension and so on. But I think things will eventually shake out.
I think it's like any flashpoint, right? After 9/11, I'm sure people were having a lot of conversations like this too, and talking about the times that we're living in, and even when I was in high school, a lot of the stuff that was going on publicly then. I mean, there was a lot of oh my God, what is this? And we dealt with COVID. It feels like a shortened timeline, and it feels like a lot. But when you go back and look at history, there's ebbs and flows, and there's all of these times where all the people. A lot of people felt this way and felt unsure, and it always comes back to the mean. And if it doesn't come back to the mean, then it's us who fucked up, and that is what it is. But we were the only people, not like we are the only people here, but we're the only thing that was here that we know of. And if we screwed it up on this go around, then we screwed it up on this go around. But the best thing you can do is be good to the people around you, and try and not let the news is interesting and the news is fun, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and you can learn from it just like you can learn from a TV show. But your family is what's real, and the people around you are what's real, and that's the stuff that you can affect on a day-to-day basis.
Well, of course you can learn from TV, but I don't think you can learn anywhere more than you can learn right here. Wouldn't you agree with that, sir?
I think that PBS has been calling, and I've not been. I've been too busy to deal with them, but I think that we're up there on educational programs.
Well, the problem with PBS, I think, is they're not getting funded. You see, they're not getting funded. But perhaps if they had enough sense to either hire either you or me, perhaps we could talk to the Trumpster and maybe get a couple extra shekels in there, and we'd all be better off for it. You see how that works?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we turn the thing to we'd steer the thing like it'd be like a ship that was we turn it to the right real quickly, and the next thing you know, we'd have Bill O'Reilly doing the evening news. Yeah.
Well, they better catch on soon, because just like Joe Rogan, eventually you outgrow the network.
Yes.
Think about that.
And speaking of Joe Rogan, now, I shouldn't mention this. I will mention this, but Joe Rogan is becoming increasingly worried. He's looking over his shoulder because he's found out that we have a podcast. You see, the guy is scared to death, and and the guys on the show, the same thing. I mean, they're just frozen. They're sort of like a deer in the headlight. Do you see what I'm saying? And they're just beside themselves. And I don't blame them, because I think that the fear is real. It's not unfounded, and it's substantial. And so their days are numbered, as they're number 2 already. But I'm not sure. I don't think we're number 1 yet. But hope
We're moving
burns.
our way up there.
Yeah, right. We're moving on up. We're moving on up. Yeah. And so now I think we've got everything under control. Yes. I think
so. I think Mamdani can listen to me a little bit. Get some NYPD officers on either side of him during some of these statements, maybe.
if he'd only come to his senses and listen to us. If he'd only come to his senses and listen to us, I think we'd be on the right track, and we could direct New York from the great Midwest. And
look at how well it's done for Elon taking my advice. I said, I wish you would pipe down a little bit. I wish you would, kind of not really be involved with my car company anymore. All of my stocks went back. He's stopped doing it. In my car, it's great. It's awesome. No one keys me. He listened to my advice perfectly.
I am going to leave it on this note, sir. Elon is talking now. He's got this podcast. And I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but the damn thing is pretty good. It's really good. I'm able to follow him. He speaks very calmly, very matter-of-factly, and he just lays it out. And of course, you may disagree with them, but it's very interesting to listen to his point of view. You may not know this, but he's been successful in a couple of his ventures. So, he's got something that maybe he can talk about. And we're being successful in our venture too, sir. I think we could all admit to that as well. Yes, well, we've got 2 people that are in agreement on that one. So, other than that, are we done? Have we exhausted ourselves? Have we exhausted the listening audience? Anything else that? Oh, are you going to remind them what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, they have to like, subscribe, and share. If you're follow us on TikTok. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Spotify and Apple Music. I think there's one more, the other podcast app.
Right? Mr. Pierogi, does Mr. Pierogi know what
YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, and daily TikToks now, it looks
Facebook, maybe. I think maybe we forgot Facebook.
I forgot. But yeah, yes. Follow, like, share, subscribe, email us at Scully Sez Tom and at Scully Sez Tom at Gmail and Scully Sez Pat at Gmail. I think it's Patrick, actually.
Patrick.
And I think
it's Patrick. Full name. No slang around here. But yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. Send it to your best friend and your most horrible enemy, and
they should send us suggestions too. Shouldn't I mean, not where to go, or not what to.
Just suggestions in general. Yeah. Anyone got any ideas? You know what I mean? Yeah. Anything like that?
Yeah, not what to do with ourselves.
No, I wouldn't listen. It'd be nice to have them,
Yeah, but we're reasonable. We'll take a look at them and maybe even follow up on some of these suggestions. And on that happy note, showing that we're completely resilient and able to listen to our critics and to move forward in spite of slings and arrows and of outrageous fortune. We're moving onward and upward, and with that, I think we should leave it. And don't I usually say, peace be with you?
And also with you.
There you go, sir.